Welcome everybody. In today's video we'll be taking a look at a very traditional knife, and I like the history of it, and I think it's going to become a regular carry in my EDC as a traditional knife. Now before I show it to you, you guys probably know that I'm more interested in modern flippers and stuff like the Asher Knives Picket, Benchmade Bug Out, the more modern folders that are very not your grandpa's knife. I've got a Demco Shark, I like the newer stuff, but this one knife here has intrigued me to look harder at the traditional side of knives. And it is this knife here. This is the Marbles GI utility knife. And I am reviewing this knife along with another product that I forgot to dig out of my backpack. Not the tin, something in the tin. There we go. Got this 2-pack here. And we're going to talk about this and get this out of the way and move on from that. This is a little spoon spork. Not the best little spork, but it's enough of a spoon that you could scoop something up. You've got a can opener that I have magnetized with an O-light to keep it from rattling. It has a cap lifter and a lanyard hole. And so, nice little eating utensil here, mostly for the spoon, be able to scoop stuff up and eat. It's not a very deep spoon, as you can see, very, very shallow, but, hey, eating utensil is an eating utensil. Put that away in the backpack, you're good to go. That's not why I got this whole pack. It's mostly this knife here. This is the Marbles brand GI utility knife. If I can get the light to show on it there, you can see the Marbles brand on the main blade here. And this is a replica of a World War II knife that was used out in the Pacific, maybe the Atlantic, but mostly the Pacific, because back then your traditional knife had your bone scales or your wood or bone scales, and those would expand, crack, chip due to the extreme heat and moisture of the Pacific atmosphere. And so the military needed a knife that could do the basic stuff and hold up to the extreme stuff. And so Camillus and a couple other brands made this GI utility knife. That may not be what it was called then, but that's kind of what it's being called now. And it has a nice big bail on here for you to tie a rope to it or clip it or something. A lot of room to work with attaching this knife to your person or to something else. And the main blade here, very nice. Now we're getting out of the history, getting into the Marbles brand here. When I got this knife, there was a dent in the edge here that was very small but big enough that it was not cutting the way it should. And so 2 minutes on, not even 2 minutes, maybe even 40 seconds on a sharpening stone, I had that buffed out. Took my leather strop here and stropped out the edge, and we're good to go. No harm, no foul. Good sharp edge. This thing will slice through paper now. It sliced through paper out of the box, except for that one little niche. Once I filed that down, we were good to go. The all punch, reamer, whatever you really want to call it, is a little bit of both. Very, very, very sharp. The tip of this punch here is almost razor sharp. Didn't have to do anything to that, but this is a little bit softer steel that's probably going to round over. You may not want it to be so doggone shallow. That is a very shallow point for a punch. And I should mention that the internal tools here, the 4 internal tools, are all made from 440 carbon steel. That's the same stuff that Leatherman uses on their knife blades. And the scales here are like a more stainless steel. The springs are the 440 carbon. The tools are the 440 carbon. The bail and the scales and the pins, I think, are just your standard stainless steel. This knife will hold up to a lot of abuse. Up next, we have the can opener. Now, for those of you that maybe remember World War II, you might know that it said can opener printed here on the actual can opener. This does not actually do that. This is just a plain edge here. Que sera, sera. This is this whole kit here with a knife and spork costed just $13. If you get just the knife, you can usually find it down around $7 on eBay. Brand new, like not used, like brand new from a seller, from a store, and it's really good. Up next we have the flathead cap lifter. This really kind of sucks as a cap lifter. To get under the bottle cap, you're losing the way they've angled it here. It's just not the best. I was better off using the can opener for opening a cap, but that's still pretty good for its own stuff. You've got the Phillips flathead driver here. All these tools also, I apologize for the camera rocking all over the place. All these tools have this abrasive on the inside of the thumb niche. And what that is for is back in the day when you had strike anywhere matches, these were your little match strikers. You could run your match down that and light your match. Nowadays it wouldn't work because matches are only strike on boxes. You know, it's hard to find. It's fun. You can find them, but it's hard to find strike anywhere matches. So that's just kind of a nod to the past more than a gripping option for the knife. Also, looking down at the knife here, we can see that some of the tools are angled and bent. That may not have been how they were on the original knife back in World War II, but that's how these are now. We will scooch this over into the light a little bit more. There we go. But you can see how some of these tools are bent to accommodate the other tools. Some were just like straight kinked over. These are kind of wibble wobbled over, and that's fine. But you know, it's not a true historical replica. There's a few differences, but if you're nostalgic for the good old days, $14 or less, and you've got yourself a GI utility knife. That is out of box, actually quite good. All the tools open easily. There is no half stops on any of these tools here. No, it talks, but it does not walk. So, that is the Marbles GI utility knife. I really do like this thing. And let me get, where is it? This knife here. This would have probably been your more common knife back in World War II. This is a Buck Stockman. This is a 3-bladed knife. Has a large clip point, a spade blade, a sheep's foot blade. Usually used on cattle ranches because you could use like this to trim hooves, this to do the spaying, and that just for general utility. But as you can see, the scales are made of jigged bone. And on this side here, I don't know how well it'll show up on camera, but there is a crack right here. Not a big deal. It's not harming the integrity of the knife, but that is just a main reason why the military went with this all steel option for a knife on the Pacific, because you get out there in the extreme heats and colds of the Pacific Ocean, the bone's going to expand and contract and crack and just break the glue that's holding it on, and it's just trouble. And wood is even worse than the bone. Nowadays with plastic, it may not be so bad, but back in the days of bone and wood on everything, that was a nightmare. It just makes the knife unpleasant to look at, uncomfortable to hold in your hand, and could ruin the integrity depending on how the structure was. So to make this solid steel knife here is really just, you know, a necessity of the time. Now, being a $13 knife or less, you're not getting the best quality in terms of how things are placed here. And what I mean by that is the awl, as you can see how it has that little kick in going over there, it rubs against the blade, scratching the blade. You can see that quite clearly right there. That is from opening and closing the awl. And it's not a big deal. I mean, if you're going to use this knife like a utility knife, it's going to get scratched. It's not a treasure knife so much as a beater knife. And this has definitely become a beater knife for me. I've carried it the last few days, been using it. It rips through cans wonderfully well. As an example, I know this is not a soup can, but I don't want to waste a can of tuna just to show this on screen. So we'll just take a pop can here and put that in and run that through. And as you can see, this is just making mincemeat of this can here. I apologize again for all the wibble wobble of the camera, but can opener works pretty good. So, wipe that clean. That is pretty much my review of the Marbles brand GI utility knife and camp spork. I think this was called the Camp Combo on eBay. You can find more like that or something similar. This is not, I'd say maybe get a different utensil. But hey, if this comes with the knife that you buy, keep it around. It's nice. The can opener also works pretty well. Bit more finicky, but does work. Shoot. Spork really isn't much of a spork. Cap lifter is actually a pretty good cap lifter. Also just a good general pry bar scraper tool thingy. So, with that said, I hope you found this video useful and informational. I hope it helps you build your EDC to your standards. And until the next time, farewell, carry well, and a bye-bye.